Okay, so forget everything you thought you knew about money. That whole polite, orderly system of banks and wires, yeah, that's over. What's taking its place is, well, it's a chaotic, no-holds-barred brawl for the future of your wallet. So let's step into the ring and see who's throwing the first punch. Our story kicks off in 2023 with just a beautifully ironic implosion. Silicon Valley Bank. I mean, this wasn't just some standard failure. It was a dark comedy playing out in real time. Here you have a bank that made this massive, almost cartoonishly reckless bet, and when the market called its bluff, it didn't just fold. It folded spectacularly. And in doing so, it kicked off a crisis that put the entire financial system on notice. And the cost of this little blunder? Well, by May of 2023, the Federal Reserve had loaned out a staggering $228 billion to banks that the FDIC had to take over, including SVB and Signature Bank. That, right there, is the price tag for propping up a system that's teetering right on the edge. Which brings us to our first major point here. The whole SVB collapse, it wasn't some freak accident. No, it was a symptom of a much, much deeper rot. The old kingdom of traditional finance, with its architecture that's, centuries old, it is starting to show some serious cracks. And this is crucial. These weren't just isolated incidents. Think of them more like stress fractures appearing in a core design that was just never, ever built for the speed of the 21st century. And honestly, this quote just perfectly captures the absurdity of it all. Experts will use these fancy terms like maturity transformation, which is really just a complicated way of saying they borrow short-term to lend long-term. But this quote, it reveals the truth. The entire system is a ridiculously complex contraption where just one loose screw can bring the whole thing crashing down.
So let's get specific. Why is it so fragile? Well, the problem really lies in the system's plumbing. We're talking about the ancient pipes and valves that are supposed to be moving trillions of dollars around the world every single day. And right at the heart of this old plumbing is this concept called correspondent banking. It sounds complex, but it's actually pretty simple. To send money from, say, here to another country, your bank doesn't just talk directly to the destination bank. Oh no, that would be too easy. Instead, it plays this long, drawn-out game of telephone, hopping between a chain of intermediary banks that all hold accounts with each other. And this diagram just brilliantly illustrates how slow and convoluted that really is. I mean, sending money from Thailand to China might mean routing it through two totally separate banks in the United States first. And every single step along the way adds time, it adds fees, and it adds risk. It's a system that was designed in a completely different century, and it's just totally outmatched by today's global, always-on economy.
But nature and markets, they absolutely hate a vacuum. So all the failures and the ridiculous inefficiencies of the old guard have triggered what you could call a Cambrian explosion of new financial life forms. It's this chaotic, vibrant ecosystem of innovators and disruptors, all fighting to build the future of money. First step, you've got the banking as a service providers, or BaaS. Now, these are the tech companies building modern banking infrastructure from the ground up. They use APIs to let basically anyone embed financial services right into their products. Think of them as the arms dealers of the whole fintech revolution. Then you have the stablecoin. This is the renegade of the group. It's a digital token that tries to hold a one-to-one value with the traditional currency, like the US dollar, but it lives on these new decentralized rails, completely outside that old, creaky correspondent banking system. And of course, you can't talk about disruption without mentioning the tech titans. I mean, Elon Musk's ambition for X isn't just about a social network. It's a vision for an everything app, a place where your social life, your news, and your entire financial world all live in one spot. He literally wants to become the bank in the new global town square. So let's look at a BaaS player like Griffin, just to see how this actually works. They're not just offering some little service, they're providing a full-stack regulated platform. It's API first, it's focused on developers, and it's designed to let new financial products get built and launched at internet speed, not banking speed.
But here's what's so fascinating about all this new money. It looks an awful lot like the old money. This chart here shows that a staggering 99% of the entire global stablecoin market is pegged to the US dollar. So while the technology is totally revolutionary, the king of currencies, well, he is still firmly on the throne, for now. But this isn't just a tech story anymore. It's escalating and fast into a full-blown geopolitical arms race. The battle to control the world's financial plumbing is quickly becoming a central front in the great power competition of the 21st century.
And this reveals a really crucial split in why governments are creating their own digital currencies, or CBDCs.
For the global north, places like Europe, it's really about breaking free from the grip of American payment giants like Visa and MasterCard. But for the global south, the ambition is way, way bigger. It's about creating a real alternative to the US dollar itself. And this is exactly where a project like China's mBridge comes into play. It's a platform designed to let different countries' central bank digital currencies transact directly with each other, completely sidestepping that old dollar-dominated network. This isn't just a tech project. It's a clear, strategic move to build new financial rails for a new world order. However, and this is a massive catch, even if you build a brand new payment rail, you just can't escape the raw power of U.S. secondary sanctions. Any major international bank that participates in a transaction with a sanctioned entity, it doesn't matter what currency or platform they use, they risk being completely cut off from the U.S. financial system. And for now, that is a price that nobody is willing to pay. So, with all this chaos, you've got collapsing banks, brand new technologies, geopolitical maneuvering. The old guard has finally woken up. And that brings us to the final round, the regulatory cage match, where governments and agencies are scrambling to try and put this genie back in the bottle. And their response has been, well, messy. We're seeing this fragmented, often contradictory crackdown. There's intense scrutiny on BaaS partnerships, new capital requirements for banks, a whole slew of proposed rules for digital assets, and you have different agencies often tripping all over each other. Over in the U.S. Congress, this has resulted in dueling bills. On one hand, you have these broad frameworks like the FIT21 Act trying to regulate the entire digital asset space. And on the other, you have more targeted legislation like the Genius Act focusing just on stablecoins. It's a really clear sign that lawmakers are just playing catch-up to a revolution that's already well underway. And this quote just absolutely nails the final conflict. The biggest hurdle right now isn't the technology, it's trust. It's the raw friction between the innovators who are building the future and the regulators who are stuck with the compliance checklists of the past. So here's the bottom line. The race is well and truly on. The old financial order is crumbling, and this chaotic, innovative, and geopolitically charged new one is rising up to take its place. The tech is here, the capital is flowing, but the ultimate question still remains. In this cage match for the future of money, who is going to be left standing to write the rules?